The clock is almost midnight, and usually the arrival area of Gimpo airport has already begun to clear. But suddenly, the aura changed. In a matter of minutes, the presence of one figure managed to revive the atmosphere. BTS's Jungkook, a global idol, Calvin Klein icon, and a face already a symbol of world pop culture, appeared without warning. There was no official schedule, no announcement from the agency, no staff to accompany him. Only one bodyguard walked behind him with calm but measured steps. The scene created a strange silence among the spectators who were lucky to see it live. Jungkook didn't speak, didn't wave, but the glare in his eyes was sharp, like someone who knew that his presence that night was no small thing. And it's as if the universe orchestrated all this. Just seconds after it came out, a short video went viral, and then the internet caught fire. On Korean and American social media, this news was immediately picked up. Platforms like X, Twitter, and TikTok are filled with snippets of videos with various theories. Some think he just returned from Japan after a personal meeting with Calvin Klein. Others think this has something to do with the secret meeting of the 2026 Global Project, which is rumored to involve big brands and cross-industry collaborations. However, the most interesting part is not where Jungkook went, but why he came alone. In the context of the Korean entertainment industry, idols as big as Jungkook rarely travel without the assistance of official staff. Even for personal matters, there is usually always one HYBE person who comes along. But that night, nothing. There was no sign of the management team, no PR staff, not even the official airport pickup. This makes industry observers convinced this is no ordinary work trip. This is something more personal, more strategic, and perhaps more confidential. Some Korean media have even linked it to rumors that Jungkook is now starting to manage some of his global activities independently, especially since his influence in the United States has grown so much. He may be working on a new strategy outside of HYBE's full control, something that could change the structure of idols' collaborations with global brands in the future. Interestingly, some sources in the US media mention that Calvin Klein has prepared a new global brand direction for 2026 with Jungkook as the main axis. However, since there is no official confirmation yet, everything is still shrouded in mystery. Still, one thing is certain: that night at Gimpo was no ordinary homecoming. It was a silent message from Jungkook to the world. He may come alone, but the whole world is watching his every step. And as always, he doesn't need to say anything to shake up the global entertainment industry. Just show up in the middle of the night, alone, and leave the rest to the public to guess. The American media even began to connect small puzzles that appeared in recent months. Since mid-2025, reports have surfaced that Jungkook is working on a secret project with a creative team from Los Angeles, not under HYBE's direct coordination, but through a private network he formed after a collaboration with Calvin Klein. In the global entertainment world, such a move is not unusual, but for a Korean idol who is still under contract, it is a big signal. Independence is growing, and this is what the US media is really interested in. They see Jungkook not just as a K-pop star, but as a business entity, an artist who is beginning to build his own path in the global industry. But, on the other hand, HYBE did not seem to comment at all. No official statement, no clarification, no upload on Weverse. The silence only increased speculation. Many who judge HYBE now face a big dilemma. In a way, Jungkook is their most valuable asset in the international market. On the other hand, the global power he built with American brands made it even more difficult to control. In an industry full of strategy and multi-million-dollar contracts, losing total control over an artist can mean losing direction in the corporate narrative. However, there is an interesting point. According to some cultural analysts in the US media, it is precisely moments like these that prove that Jungkook is now bigger than the system that formed him. HYBE may have the structure, the production power, and the global distribution of his music, but Jungkook has something he can't buy: the trust of the world's public. His reputation isn't built from PR strategy, but from consistency, hard work, and appeal that crosses cultural boundaries. He can be silent, but every gesture of his body creates a wave of opinion. And that's why when HYBE chose silence, the public spoke louder. The media began to reveal that there is a high possibility that Jungkook will be an unofficial ambassador for several international brands at world events, such as the World Expo or next year's global fashion event. Calvin Klein is said to be preparing a new campaign themed Beyond Control, and some sources suspect the concept was directly inspired by Jungkook's independent attitude towards traditional management systems. If true, then this is a great irony. The face raised by HYBE has now become a symbol of subtle resistance to the control of large corporations. Meanwhile, on the side of fans, this narrative caused mixed feelings. On the one hand, many are proud to see Jungkook increasingly independent. On the other hand, there are fears that the relationship between him and HYBE may not be as harmonious as it seems on the surface. But one thing is indisputable. The world now sees Jungkook as not just a member of BTS, but an independent force capable of shaking up the industry with one silent step at night. Even more interesting, some entertainment reporters from New York wrote a sharp analysis that HYBE is now on the defensive. With several of its top artists currently serving in the military, and Jungkook being the only active face to continue scoring global achievements, the company had to be careful not to look like it lost control. But the public is not stupid, they know who really holds influence. And if the night at Gimpo airport is a signal, then it may be the beginning of a new chapter in which Jungkook truly stands alone, with the world as his witness, and HYBE can only observe from a distance. The evening may seem simple. An artist comes home alone with a bodyguard. But behind each of those steps, there's a major shift in the map of Korean entertainment power. HYBE does not speak, but the world moves. Jungkook did not announce anything, but the media on both continents wrote about him at the same time. And from all that silence came one conclusion that began to resonate in newsrooms, fan forums, to global brand boardrooms. Perhaps, for the first time in modern K-pop history, an idol is no longer controlled by a system he creates his own. No one knows for sure when it all started, but one thing is clear. Since Jungkook arrived in Korea without HYBE staff, rumors that were once just a small spark have now turned into a big fire. The entire media, from local Korean forums to American entertainment editors, began to mention the same words over and over again. 2026 project. There is no official explanation, no concrete leaks, but everyone feels that something big is being prepared behind the scenes. And, as always, when it comes to Jungkook, silence is the biggest fuel for public curiosity. In the global entertainment world, the term silent project is no stranger. But when Jungkook's name appeared in it, all the parameters changed. Some industry sources say the project was developed outside the HYBE system and involved collaborators from America, Japan, and Europe at once. One anonymous producer, quoted by Rolling Stone Asia, even said, "Jungkook is building something global. Not an album, Not just a brand deal, something bigger. The sentence made speculation heated up. Many are beginning to suspect that Project 2026 is not just a music release, but a cross-industry creative initiative. A move that could change the way Korean artists operate in international markets. And this is what surprised many. Rumors say that Jungkook is preparing his own visual platform, a kind of global audio-visual project that will bring together music, fashion, and cinematography. According to some cultural analysts, the move would make him the first Korean artist to establish an independent creative house with the support of an international brand rather than a domestic agency. No wonder the American media wrote, "Jungkook might be preparing a revolution under everyone's nose." Sources from the fashion industry even added fuel to these rumors. One creative director who worked with Calvin Klein in Tokyo revealed that Jungkook was working on something related to his personal image, not just a brand campaign. The phrase personal image in the fashion world means complete control over visual direction, narrative, and concept, something that is rarely given to an idol under a major contract. But Jungkook is no ordinary idol. He crossed that line a long time ago, and now, it seems, he is expanding the meaning of the word artist in a global context. Interestingly, the time of his arrival in Korea is also considered not a coincidence. Fans found that the schedules of several major creative studios in Seoul, such as Dexter Studios and Real One Film, experienced a temporary closure for secret projects for 2 weeks in November. Several anonymous employees interviewed by the PanNate forum called a global star in the process of concept filming, and when Jungkook's name began to be mentioned, fans immediately linked him to Project 2026, which began circulating on social media with the hashtag number JK2026Vision. Hybe, as always, chose silence. But their silence reinforced public suspicion. Because if the project is part of Hybe's official strategy, the company will usually shepherd the narrative with early promotions, teasers, or supporting visual releases. But this time, there was nothing. No posts on Weverse, no news from Big Hit Music, and that means one thing. Jungkook may actually be running this project outside of the agency's full coordination. For American entertainment watchers, it's not just about individual careers. They assessed the Jungkook phenomenon as a paradigm shift. In a Forbes entertainment article, one analyst wrote, "What Jungkook is doing could redefine the idol system entirely. He's not rebelling, he's evolving. That is, Jungkook is not fighting the Hybe system, but rather showing that an artist can evolve without losing his roots. He is paving a new path, where global collaboration is no longer governed by contractual boundaries, but by personal vision." Some theories are even bolder. There is speculation that the 2026 project may be related to the Osaka World Expo or cooperation with international cultural organizations, given Jungkook's position as a global icon who is often invited to cross-country events. If true, then this step could confirm his status not just as a music star, but as a representative of Korean culture who has complete creative freedom. However, behind all the speculation, there is one thing that makes this story even more interesting: the way Jungkook keeps his mystery. No promotional uploads, no studio photos, no leaks from his team. He only appeared briefly at the airport, looked down, smiled, and walked quickly to the black car that picked him up. But from such a simple moment, the whole world guesses. Because that's Jungkook's strength, he doesn't need to talk to make the world speculate. For longtime BTS fans, this feels like déjà vu from the early days of his career. In the past, Jungkook was known as the youngest trainee who was silent but full of ideas. He often creates his own concepts for videos, writes songs secretly, and even records sound in his dorm room without staff permission just because he wants to try new things. Now, 10 years later, the pattern is back, but with a much larger scale and a much broader impact. Meanwhile, fans on social media did not stop analyzing every piece of information. Someone dissected metadata from airport photos. Someone found out the flight schedules of brand partners, and even found out that a visual team that had worked for Calvin Klein and Apple Music Live was in South Korea this week. All of those pieces together do seem like a map to something really big, but what it is, no one knows yet. But amid all this silence, one thing is certain. No other artist has been able to create such a huge hype without speaking a single word. The world waited with bated breath. The American media prepared headlines, and business analysts stared curiously at the screens. The year 2026 is still a few months away, but the effects are already beginning to be felt now. And when the project was finally announced, whatever its form, many believed one thing would change forever. The relationship between artist and agency would never be the same again. Because once Jungkook shows that independence can be built without rebellion, other stars might follow in his footsteps. This is a new era. An era in which Jungkook was not just part of BTS or a Calvin Klein icon, but a global creative institution that stood on its own behalf. The world waited, Hybe observed, and the media continued to write. But Jungkook? He just walked quietly, with small steps that could shake a big industry.